Awesome, everyone. So in this section here, we're going to be taking a look at the execution of methods a little bit more, such as having a return statement work with our dog.java file. And I also want to go ahead and look at method overloading, how the method signature works, and what this concept of an overloaded method is, which looks a bit different than what it is in Python. And we want to take a look at objects and variables, because sometimes you might fall into the habit of using some references that we use for integers or strings, and we don't really know what's actually going on behind the scenes. So again, please read up until object comparisons from method overloading before you go ahead and watch this video. And once you've done that, we could go ahead and delve into our dog.java file again. Let me close out of item and outdoor storage for a second. And inside of this .java file, we are kind of looking at this concept of overloaded methods. So again, in our notes here, an overloaded method is going to be one with different definitions. And essentially, you're going to have the same name, but the way that we can overload this is by changing its signature. Now, a signature is a fancy way of saying the parameter list of the method. So again, what I could say down here underneath, let's go up to speak right here. We'll see that speak goes ahead and takes in no parameters. And what I want to do is say, I want to overload the speak method. Now you might be wondering, okay, well, if I go ahead and put in no parameters, you'll see we get an error. We have to rename it. So maybe I'll rename it as 1. But what we could do instead is go ahead and add in a parameter. Let's just go ahead and put in the string name for the time being, just for something a bit different. And what we could say here is now print line. I'm going to go ahead and make this overloaded parameter go ahead and just go ahead and return what the name is. So system.println, I am a dog and my name is, and it's just going to print out name. Now you'll notice here that we actually aren't getting an error with speak anymore. So if I go ahead and actually run this code now again, let's just go make sure that this is running. This is good. So now what I could say up here is, okay, if I do duchess.speak after creating her up here, we'll notice that the other speak isn't running just yet. We're not getting the overloaded one. So how do I access this overloaded one? Now we'll see inside of this speak method, I have one that says speak over here, void, and speak with string name. And then I'm just going to go ahead and put in the string of Duchess again. Again, the way that we do it doesn't make a huge difference here. And now we could say I'm a dog and my name is Duchess. And we'll see here that it's the same method name, but the signature of the method is different. Now, can you only do this twice? Nope. You can do this as many times as you'd like. I'm going to go ahead and add in an int age and then a string fur as well. And then just to showcase that this is different for each of them, I'm going to go ahead and print out name and then age. And again, we don't need to worry too much about what's actually, like, if this makes sense fully. It's just a proof of concept. See here, I'm going to make this print out every parameter that is given into it. A space plus and then an age. And now we can see that inside of each of these methods, they're all called speak. And if I go ahead and I use duchess.speak, we'll see that we have 4 different overloaded methods. And each of them can do something different based on what's given to us. Now, you might notice we get this fancy little thing called null, which is a special place, and actually the notes talk a bit about it as well. Before we delve into that, I just want to showcase, if we run this code again, we'll see that I am a dog. My name is null, but I'll just change this to Duchess one more time. Change this to 9. And now we can see that this method is running based on the speak. So that's essentially what overloaded operators are. And one more thing that I want to show off is how these return values will work. Because right now we're just using void. So a really good way that we can use return values with these classes is called getters. So this is called set fur color. And set fur color is a way that you can provide a value that the fur color of the dog will be set to. We also can get the fur color. So I'm going to go ahead and say public get fur color. And you'll notice now we're kind of think, okay, well, what I want get fur color to do for me is to return to me what fur color this current dog is. So again, will I need to provide anything for this parameter list? Not necessarily, because I have access to the fur color in my instance variables already. But what should my return type be? Well, fur color is a string, so I should be returning a string. And now what I can type out inside of my parameter, inside of my method body, is this return fur color. So now what can I do with this? What I can create now over here is a variable like var, and what I can set it equal to is duchess.getFurColor. Now, is this going to be saved? Let's go ahead and try to run it. And if I hit run right here, I get brown. Now, what if I want to change this over to orange again or anything? If I run it now, we'll see that I get orange down here. So again, that's kind of how we can use method return types. And this works with any type of method, such as string, int, and any type of object, string or int, or even custom defined objects. So you can actually go ahead and create a method that returns a dog object for us as well. But we don't need to worry about that just yet. Cool. So there's a little bit more things in the objects and variables that I wanted to take a look at. And essentially an object variable or a reference variable, either way it's referred to, is going to be a reference to some location in memory where we explicitly allocated to store that object. So essentially you might have seen this new parameter created, and we created that with Duchess as well, where we said dog Duchess is equal to new dog. This creates a new memory address that we can use to find that value. Now, what happens if we don't initialize this value? And we saw it earlier as well. Let's go ahead and just create dog Rose. And what happens if I go ahead and try to print line Rose. Let's just go ahead and try to print out Rose really quick. We'll see that I have not initialized the variable, so I don't have access to anything there. And if I go ahead and I try to get the fur color, let me try to run this. We'll see that we have the uninitialized error. So if I go ahead and I try to initialize this variable, you'll notice that it actually immediately tries to initialize it to null. And instead of using my dog for this example, let's go ahead and just try to reference a string like so. So I'm going to go ahead and print out string right here. And you'll notice again that I get the error where it's not initialized. And what's the value when it's not initialized? Well, it's actually null. So if you're ever getting these errors of null exception or null something like that as well, that is an issue. Now, one more thing that is important to note right here is that whenever we go ahead and we say something like another string is equal to my string, we might get the idea that this is another copy of it and it's its own object. But what's actually happening is that the second object, so another string, is pointing to the same memory address as my string is. So we're going to set the second object variable to point to the same object as the first. And essentially what this means is that memory address that was allocated when we created new for my string is going to be pointed to by another string as well. And again, these are kind of the small things that you might not think about when you're coding away, but they're important for us to notice because we need to make sure use string. Let's do something like that, because we need to make sure that we have the memory address there. So let's go ahead and try to make sure that this is working for us. And let's just kind of also look a bit at the object comparisons as well. And we'll look at how we can compare two objects as well. So I'm going to go ahead and call this a string a test. And then what I could say is string is equal to a string. And now I'm going to go ahead and print out string here. And you'll notice you might think, okay, well, now string copied over a string, but actually what it's copying over is its memory address there. So again, this is pointing to the same place that a string is pointing to. It didn't make a copy of itself or anything. So that's just something important to note there. Again, why is this important for us to know? Well, this functionality is something we can kind of, you can get away with not really knowing about it while you're doing the fundamental codings. But when you're making object-oriented objects yourself, you want to make sure you understand how the equalities work. And a really good way that we can do that is to actually test if two objects, by overloading some type of operator, test if some of them are true or not. So again, one more example that we can test out here is I'm going to go ahead and print out if string is equal to a string, like so. And we'll see that that gets us true for us right here. And let's try to do the other way as well, dot equals. And what it's going to try to dot equals is that string. So these are both true. And what's happening here is that these equal signs and the dot equals has been overridden because it's not built in for us. So what we can do is if we open up the item class, there's an example here at the bottom where we have this concept of public boolean equals item other. And essentially what this is saying is it's going to take in another item and try to compare two things. So the way that we can try to do this now inside of our dog class is I'm going to go ahead and at the very bottom make a method that's called public boolean equals. And what it's going to take in is it's going to take in a dog object that is the other object. And what I'm going to try to check is in my scenario here, I'm going to check if the fur color, or excuse me, if the fur color of these two dogs is the same, then they're going to be the same object. And again, I'm doing this for just a very small example, and we can kind of see if it works in other areas. So I'm going to say if fur color dot equals, and again, fur color is a string, so it has access to all these other objects. Now, what is the type of other? Well, it's a dog, so other also has access to the fur color object as well. Now, if these two are the same, I'm going to go ahead and return true. Otherwise, I'm going to return false, very simply. Now, what I can try to do now is inside of my test.java file, I'm going to go ahead and create Duchess up here. And I'm going to make her fur color blue. Excuse me, orange. And then I'm going to say dog rose is equal to new dog. Let's say orange as well. Let's just see if this works for us. Orange. I'll call this red and 10. And then I'm going to try to print out here if Duchess equals to rose. Now you'll notice here that these are overloading, or excuse me, these are objects that we created. And you'll notice that I have the false up here. Let's go ahead and try to, let's go ahead and try to use the dot equals instead here. So if I go ahead and I see now that instead of using the equal sign, I have this dot equals object as well. And I can try to compare her to Rose. And if I run this guy, I now actually get it true. Now again, you might have saw earlier I had that error where if I go ahead and I use the equals sign, it was going to return false for us. And the reason that is happening is because when we use this equal operator, it's going to compare to two references and not the actual objects that they are referring to. And so if they are referring to the same reference there, that will be the same. So if I try to go ahead and I set Rose is equal to Duchess now after I declare her, you'll now notice that I get true right here because I'm pointing to the reference that's the same. But if I actually don't do this, we'll notice that this is giving false because it's not pointing to the same reference. Again, a very minute difference there, but it's important to note. And again, we're using a dot equals method that's built into Java as well. But you'll see here that you can compare it to whatever you would like it to be and so forth too. Awesome.